Story 1. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, I had a minor accident driving to visit family in Podingtown, Texas. Not a small town, but big enough to have most large chains, though not much else. Anyway, I hit a pothole about 5 miles from my destination and noticed a significant wobble in the car. It was nighttime, so I just parked at my grandma's place and decided to inspect the damage the next day. The next day, I got out and looked under the car, seeing the rim was bent. I drive a less common Japanese make, and one of their less common models. For this particular model, there is a lot of value attached to the wheels. The car is the last of its model type, and the wheels are particularly valuable and expensive, so I was pretty frustrated. New original equipment manufacturer wheels would be $400 from the dealer. Used rims would be $300 and questionable, and I was unsure about the repairability of a bent rim at this point. If I didn't have a matching set of original rims, the car's value would be significantly diminished. However, even if I wanted to, there was no way I could find a dealer for my make within 100 miles. I'd either have to get it repaired or get a temporary replacement. Usually in situations like this, I'd call my mechanic buddy and get his opinion. However, he works a 10-day on, 4-day off schedule and worked hard to get the shift with the holiday weekend off since he never sees his kids. I didn't want to interrupt his family time, so I figured I'd call on the last day of his break as he was heading back to work. So, I left the car in the driveway for Thanksgiving and spent time with family. First thing in the morning on Friday, I woke up and went to Chain Tire Store. I'd had good luck with Chain Tire Store in the past, so I figured they would be honest with me and give me a fair diagnosis. I rolled into the shop first thing, and the manager immediately came to greet me, saying he really liked my car and wished there was a dealer nearby so he could have one of his own. Classic salesman tactic, but whatever. I showed him what was wrong. He pulled the car into the shop, and a mechanic pulled the wheel off. After looking at the wheel, the manager came out and told me he was sorry, but the wheel was not safe to repair. He showed me the bend, which to my eye was very slight, but he assured me they put the wheel underwater, and bubbles came out from under the tire, indicating the tire wouldn't hold air pressure. I thought this was weird because my tire pressure gauge didn't come on, and the tire had held up fine after hitting the pothole. Still, I trusted Chain Tire Store, so whatever, I just need to buy a new rim. The manager asked if I'd like to get a replacement, and I said I wasn't sure. I'd need to think about it. He offered to ring me up for an estimate while I waited. So, I went outside and considered my options. Buy one mismatched wheel and replace it immediately when I got home, or buy a matching set and replace the damaged wheel when I eventually sell the car. The store manager came out and told me the cheapest estimate he had to get me out of the shop safely was $550. This was insane, and I was taken aback. I asked for the write-up of the estimate, and he complied. $100 wheels and $150 in labor. I told him the cheapest option was just one wheel and labor till $140. And his response was that clearly I drove a nice car, and I'd want a full set of matching rims. He said, "Look, I know it looks a little expensive, but I'm a nice guy and I'll personally buy your old wheels from you for $50 a piece," bringing the net price down to $350 for a whole set of matching rims. This set off warning bells, so I told him I'd need to think it over some more. After a few minutes of thinking, I realized this guy was trying to scam me out of my rims and get a sales commission on a huge sale. Truly in the spirit of Thanksgiving. He also showed me that for Black Friday, they were having a special 20% mail-in rebate if I went with 6-month financing. Considering that the price of one new wheel for my car was $400, and I could get a full new set of matching wheels for $440 after the rebate, I figured I'd get the matching set and figure out how to get back on the original rims later. I didn't really care at this point. I just wanted to be done with the scummy store manager. So I told him I'd take the full set and that I'd be doing the financing for the 20% rebate. He offered to write me a check for $200 on the wheels, but I told him I'd prefer to keep the old ones. He was visibly disappointed, but he still made a big sale and would make a lot on commission. So I drove many hours home, filled out the form for the rebate, and enjoyed my weekend off. I sent a picture of the bent wheel to my mechanic buddy and said I was upset that I wasn't driving on the original rims. He immediately responded with, "Why not?" I told him what happened at Chain Tire Store, and he called me immediately. He said based on the pictures I sent, the wheel was fully repairable, and it should only cost $100, $150 to do. The store manager didn't just try a sales tactic to get me to make a big purchase. He lied to me. So I went online to find a customer service number for the company. Immediately, on the front of their web page was their guarantee. 30-day 100% satisfaction guarantee. If for any reason you are not satisfied with your purchase, you are entitled to a refund at any of our nationwide locations. I'm not one to take advantage of a company's guarantee, but this was a special circumstance, so I decided it would be worth it to get refunded. I took my bent rim to a wheel repair specialty shop and got it back later that day. Meanwhile, I called the chain tire store and spoke with the manager who sold me the wheels. I said I was unhappy with my wheels and would like to work out a return. I told him I got a second opinion on the wheel, and it turned out it was repairable. I would like to use their guarantee and receive my money back because of his negligence or dishonesty, whichever he decided to pick. He picked negligence and then told me since I was doing financing, a large rebate, and a non-local return, he would only refund me $250 of the $550 purchase price, supposedly to cover shipping and reinstall of old wheels, and that the initial labor on installation was non-refundable. My options were either to accept the offer he made or hope the corporate office would understand and help me iron out the details. I told him to begin the process of getting the $250 while I found a local location to have the work done. I didn't tell him I'd be sending that estimate up to the corporate office. I called the corporate chain tire store the next day, after receiving an email saying I'd be receiving a check for $250, assuming I could bring the wheels to a local location. I explained the situation to the person on the phone, forwarded them the email from the manager for the $250 offer, and sent them photos of the bent and subsequently repaired wheel, along with the receipt for the repair and safety test done by the repair shop. They immediately apologized for what had happened and said the manager did not have the authority to issue a check for the partial value of a refund. They read me a policy which stated that all refunds must be for the full purchase value, meaning the manager was not allowed to make a partial refund at all. He either had to completely deny the refund or refund the full $550. Agreeing to a partial refund had violated company policy. He was also required to issue the refund through the same means of payment instead of writing a check, meaning I was completely off the hook for the whole $550 purchase. So on the phone, they set me up with a complimentary appointment to swap out the wheels, refunded the $550 in full, and confirmed that the manager who sold me the wheels would be reprimanded. And for the cherry on top, I received confirmation that I would still be getting the 20% rebate in the mail later next week. It just about covers the cost of repair to my wheel. Story 2. Backstory #1. I have a working pantry, which means I have food that will last my family up to 3 months. It's food that we eat and use, so I'm constantly restocking and rotating it. I'm not exactly a prepper, but it does come in handy for emergencies. Backstory #2. I've been in self-quarantine for a few weeks now due to my compromised immune system. No one outside our family is allowed inside the house, and we don't answer the door if we don't have to. We also have a video doorbell so we can communicate with people without answering the door. Backstory #3. I used to coupon to the point that I could have been on the Extreme Couponing Show. That's how I built up my food storage quickly. In the past, the neighborhood kids learned quickly that my son had lots of snacks that I was willing to share. In turn, their parents learned I had a very large food storage, which I never wanted to advertise, but oh well, I didn't think it would be a problem at the time. Yeah, I was naive. I no longer coupon with the same intensity due to my declining health, but I do smaller trips, an extra can or two each grocery order, to maintain my food storage. Sorry for the novel. On to the story. Our city is in the first few days of quarantine. Schools and workplaces have been closed, but our grocery stores are still open, albeit wiped out and overwhelmed. Yesterday, the doorbell rang at about 9:30 a.m. I checked the video doorbell app and saw a neighbor's kid, about 5 years old, standing on my porch. So I pressed the talk button and told him hi. "Hi," he said. "I'm here for the food." Confused, I asked, "What food?" "Mommy said you have food for me," he replied. "I'm sorry, honey, but I don't. I'm sure your mom has food for you at home." "Okay, bye." He waved into the camera and left. I brushed it off because that kid was known for making stuff up. So I settled back into bed. Almost half an hour later, the doorbell rang again, and when I checked it, there were 2 kids standing there. One was the kid of my neighbor across the street. The other lived on the street behind me. When I greeted them through the video doorbell app, it was the same story. Their moms told them I had food to give them. I quickly told them no and to go talk to their moms. They said okay and went on their way. While they walked away, I sent off a text to the three moms. Your kids stopped by my house saying you told them I have food for them. I don't. Why are you telling them that? Entitled Mother #1. What about all of that food in your food storage? Me? What about it? You have a lot. You can share. Entitled Mother #2. You've shared before. My food storage is enough for my family. If I had anything to spare, I would gladly share, but I don't. Entitled Mother #3. But you have lots of food. Again, for my family. The stores are still open. If you need food, you'll have to try your luck there. Entitled Mother #1. Or we could just come over and take your stuff. Entitled Mother #2. Yeah, I doubt you could stop us. All three know about my health and mobility issues. Try it and I'll meet you on my driveway with my shotgun, an angry Rottweiler, and my even angrier husband. Entitled Mother #3. Are you threatening us? You threatened to steal my property, so I'm just returning the favor. Which? Oh no, you called me a bad word. I think I'm going to cry. I better drown my sadness by eating all of these yummy snacks I have in my food storage. They didn't respond back. But I did hear from one of my other neighbors that Entitled Mother #1 was complaining to anyone that would listen that I'm a mean person for letting her kids go hungry. Several people asked her why she was trying to take food away from an ill person. I have several chronic illnesses as well that have me more or less homebound. When she bulk buys at a wholesale store every 2 weeks, she didn't have an answer for that and stopped complaining about me soon afterward. She did end up going to the store to buy stuff, but was super upset because the lines were super long, and she was there for about an hour. Update. For those of you who are wondering, we live in the western region of the United States, near the Rocky Mountains. That's all I'm willing to say. Preppers and people with food storage like mine are pretty much the norm where we are. But there are people like the three entitled mothers that don't prepare beyond their monthly grocery trips. It's just assumed that everyone here has some sort of food storage. But as a rule, we don't ask or talk about them. After my encounter with the entitled mother on Friday, I didn't think much of it, but I did tell my husband. He was not amused. Since my health has been declining, my husband has become fiercely protective of me. He wanted to storm over and rip into all three of them, but I managed to convince him not to. He did ask for screenshots of the text, just in case. I happily sent them to him. Saturday night, after I went to bed early, the neighbor who had told me that Entitled Mother #1 had been complaining about me, we'll call her Nice Neighbor, showed up on our porch with our neighbor cop and spoke, through our screen door, to my husband. The Nice Neighbor said that she and several other neighbors were concerned when Entitled Mother #2 had basically admitted to threatening to come and take our food storage. I guess she was telling people that it was a funny story or something. Our neighbor cop was there because he co-heads our neighborhood watch and is also Entitled Mother #2's brother-in-law. I've always gotten the impression that he and Entitled Mother #2 don't get along. Quick note, we have several police officers, as well as firemen that live in our neighborhood. In fact, I have 3 different policemen living on just my street. The cop asked my husband if we had proof of the text conversation, and my husband sent him a copy. The cop thanked him and told him he'd be speaking with his sister-in-law later that night. My husband thanked them both and they left. This morning, the cop showed up again. He told my husband that he'd met up with the 3 mothers and their husbands and sternly told them that with the screenshots my husband had given him, he could arrest the 3 of them for harassing and threatening me, and that if anything happens at our house, that they would be the first on their list of people to talk to and/or arrest. I don't know if he just told them that to scare them, but he knows the law better than me, so I'll go with it. He also told them that he had informed the other cops that live in the neighborhood, and that they, as well as the neighbors that were concerned in the first place, would also be watching them and to not be foolish. So that's it for now. The cop told us to call him if we have any problems with anyone, but I don't anticipate anything soon. He admitted to my husband that all 3 mothers looked terrified after he mentioned being arrested, and their husbands were furious at them. Entitled Mother #1's husband even asked her, "How could you think it was okay to threaten a sick person?" Entitled Mother #2's husband told her she was foolish for threatening someone who owned a shotgun. I'll update if anything else happens.